Greetings at Cheating Story Lab. Kindly share your location here. Today's narrative emerged from a man who, while attempting to secure his home against burglars, unexpectedly exposed a betrayal that went far beyond the dissolution of his marriage, impacting multiple families in ways he had never foreseen. The truth often surfaces when one is seeking something entirely different. I believed I was fortifying my home against theft, but instead, I uncovered a deception that had been concealed from me for years. My name is Tyler, and this account unfolds approximately 2 years ago when I was 41 years old, having been married to Rebecca for 18 years. We were parents to 2 teenagers, and we lived comfortably in the suburbs. Our lives appeared ordinary, even predictable. The issues commenced as our neighborhood grappled with a series of burglaries. Over a 2-month period, 3 houses on our street were burglarized, all during the day when residents were at work. The police recommended installing security systems, so I opted to conceal cameras around our house. I acquired a covert camera system online, nothing extravagant, merely enough to cover key living spaces and entrances. Cameras were installed in the living room, kitchen, and one close to the front door. I didn't inform Rebecca of all the camera placements because I wanted them to stay hidden, should we ever encounter an intruder. For the initial few weeks, nothing out of the ordinary occurred. I'd occasionally review the footage, primarily observing our regular daily activities such as children returning from school, Rebecca preparing for work, and me working in the garage. It turned out to be rather uneventful, which was precisely what I desired, but then I observed something peculiar. On Tuesdays, Rebecca would return home early from work, generally around 2 p.m. instead of her usual 5:30 p.m. When inquired, she admitted to using her half-days for assisting her ailing mother with medical appointments, which were roughly an hour away. This continued for approximately 3 weeks, and I found Rebecca's devotion to her mother's well-being heartwarming. I offered aid, but she politely refused, stating she could manage and that I should not jeopardize my job. However, everything altered on a Tuesday. While at work, my phone alerted me of motion detected in our living room by the security system. Assuming Rebecca had returned early for her mother's appointment again, I checked the app only to see a chilling sight. Rebecca was there, but she wasn't alone. With her was Trevor, my boss from the construction company, whom I immediately recognized. They were intimately seated on our couch, and it was evident this wasn't a professional gathering. Watching in stunned silence, he kissed her, and she didn't recoil. Rather, it appeared she was welcoming it. I sat in my work truck, staring at my phone screen as if the world had tipped on its side. That was my wife, in our house, with my supervisor. The betrayal struck me like a tangible blow to my chest. I felt an urge to rush home and confront them, but something held me back. Perhaps it was shock or some primal instinct telling me to assess the depth of their actions. I observed as they made their way to our bedroom, my bedroom, causing me to turn off my phone. I could no longer bear witnessing. For an hour, I sat there trying to make sense of what I had just observed. 18 years of marriage, and she was cheating on me with the one who authorized my paychecks. When I gathered enough composure to drive, I returned to the office. Trevor was there, discussing project timelines as if nothing had transpired. This fact that he could meet my gaze and act amicable after being with my wife in my own home filled me with nausea. That evening, Rebecca arrived home as usual, recounting her mother's successful appointment and expressing fatigue from the drive. Her ease and deceit left me questioning if this had been a long-standing act. The number of Tuesday medical appointments I suspected to be false. I chose not to question her that night. Instead, I scrutinized weeks of video footage, discovering a truth that shattered my heart entirely. This deception had been ongoing for months, with Tuesdays often accompanied by Thursdays as well. They had been exploiting our home, our bed while I was at work and the children at school. The most distressing aspect was observing their comfortableness together. It wasn't a fleeting affair. They shared routines, inside jokes, behaving like a couple. Within my house, on my couch, in my bed, I collected extensive footage of their affair, meticulously documented. I sought advice from a divorce lawyer who emphasized that the evidence I gathered would significantly impact divorce proceedings since we resided in a state where divorce is based on fault. However, my resentment wasn't solely directed at Rebecca. Trevor was my superior, a married man with 2 minor children. His spouse, Michelle, whom I had encountered at company events, appeared to be a kind woman, oblivious to the fact that her husband was being unfaithful just as Rebecca was to me. After pondering for a week, I devised my strategy. A part of me considered confronting them directly, but realized this would provide them an opportunity to align their narratives or dispose of evidence. Instead, I chose a different tactic. On the following Tuesday, I feigned sickness at work and waited. As predicted, Trevor's vehicle arrived at my residence at 2 p.m. After granting them approximately an hour, I called Trevor's cell phone from my car parked nearby. "Hi, Trevor. I hope this message doesn't disturb you, but I urgently need some files from home. Can we arrange a meeting there in approximately 20 minutes? His tension was noticeable. "Unfortunately, I'm currently occupied and the matter is urgent. Could you postpone it until tomorrow?" This client seems tense. On the contrary, I'm on my way home now. I ended the call and drove back to my house. When I arrived, Trevor's car was missing, but Rebecca was still present, looking agitated, stating she had come early due to feeling unwell. That night, I made a crucial decision. I gathered the most transparent evidence, leaving no room for doubt about the situation, and prepared 2 copies, one for the divorce attorney and one for Trevor's wife, Michelle. I obtained Michelle's contact details from social media and decided it was best to meet her personally. I felt sending such devastating news via email or text wouldn't be appropriate. She deserved a direct conversation. I requested a meeting at a coffee shop, mentioning I needed to talk urgently about Trevor. She appeared puzzled but consented. Upon displaying the video on my tablet, her countenance paled. She scrutinized the screen for an extended period before gazing at me with tears in her eyes. "For how long?" she murmured. "Based on the evidence, at least 4 months, possibly more." Michelle's response was heart-wrenching. She wasn't initially enraged but devastated. She repeatedly expressed that she had sensed something amiss and the signs were apparent. She thanked me for disclosing it to her, although I could see it shattering her. 2 days subsequently, I approached Rebecca. I displayed some of the footage and informed her I was aware of everything. Her reaction taken aback me. Instead of remorse or apologies, she turned defensive and irate. "You've been spying on me," she protested. "That despicable Tyler, you breached my privacy." The audacity was astounding. She seemed more distressed about being discovered than about the affair itself. She attempted to explain her actions by claiming our marriage had been lifeless for years, with Trevor understanding her in ways I never could. "Want the reality?" she declared. "I no longer have feelings for you. That has been true for quite some time." Trevor reignited my emotions again. That was when, for me, our marriage definitively concluded, not when I watched the footage, but when she showed no regret and aimed to cast me as the wrongdoer for uncovering her infidelity. The divorce proceedings were swiftly initiated. With the video proof, Rebecca's lawyer suggested she accept a fair settlement instead of contesting it in court. She moved in with Trevor, who had also departed his wife after Michelle exposed him, but their contentment was fleeting. Trevor's business had stringent regulations regarding relationships that might lead to conflicts of interest. When the affair surfaced, and particularly since it concerned an employee's spouse, Trevor was dismissed. In our locale, the construction sector is surprisingly modest, prompting swift rumors. Trevor and Rebecca's reputations suffered significantly, and Michelle and I forged an unexpected friendship during this ordeal, not romantically, as we were both too wounded and preoccupied with restoring our lives. Instead, we provided mutual support throughout the divorce proceedings. She was granted primary custody of their children and a sizable settlement. Approximately 6 months later, the most fulfilling aspect of this tale unfolded. The relationship between Rebecca and Trevor deteriorated under the weight of unemployment, financial strain, and the inability of their romantic affair to withstand reality. Rebecca attempted to reach out to me on multiple occasions, expressing regret and a desire to reconcile, but I had moved on. The trust is now absent, yet I garnered a significant insight. I merit more than someone who deceives me while infidelity ensues within my very home. Today, I am in a far improved situation. Shared custody of our children was established, initially challenging with the divorce, but they've since adapted well. I secured employment at a firm that emphasizes honesty and started seeing someone sincere and communicative. Her name is Rebecca. However, she continues to battle rebuilding her life post-divorce. The affair not only ended our marriage, but also cost her job, tarnished her reputation at work, relationships, social connections, and ultimately strained her relationship with Trevor. Occasionally, I ponder over the hidden cameras installed for home security. Ironically, they serve their purpose, albeit unconventionally, not guarding against anticipated burglars, but safeguarding me from prolonging my years with someone who had already abandoned our marriage without the audacity to confess it. Truth eventually surfaces, regardless of our pursuit. I'm relieved I discovered what I did, sparing myself from prolonging a deception. Some marriages can tolerate infidelity, but ours could not sustain the dishonesty, breach of trust, and Rebecca's unrepentant behavior upon confrontation. From this ordeal, I have come to understand that actions bear consequences, and these consequences often stretch far beyond the parties involved. Rebecca and Trevor's affair didn't merely dissolve 2 marriages. It influenced 4 children, multiple families, careers, friendships. The aftermath of betrayal reverberates further than they might have anticipated when they initiated their weekly trysts. May my narrative act as a cautionary tale, highlighting that truth, however concealed, tends to emerge. It's wiser to confront it with grace rather than escalate the harm through more falsehoods and accusations. Thank you for hearing my story. Should you find a likeness in your experiences, understand that you aren't solitary and that beyond betrayal, life can improve. If this video struck a chord, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for additional true accounts from individuals who have navigated life's most difficult phases. Where do you view from? Share your location in the comments section below.